Hello, Belinda Burrows from the Win News Desk. In the headlines tonight, police are hunting a man who held up a service station with a meat cleaver overnight. An inquest begins into a boating accident which killed a 26-year-old man last year. Wine connoisseurs gather at the Stewart's Hotel for the annual Winter Wine Festival. And in sport, golfer Ian Baker Finch returns to where it all began at the Beerwald Golf Course. Details on those stories and more, be watching Win News tonight at 6. See you then.
Tonight on Win Television, Getaway, followed by This Is Your Life and the award-winning RPA. And at 9:30, the best of the footy show.
Tonight, bandit holds up service station with a meat cleaver.
The inquest begins into a fatal boating accident.
Drug raids continue across the coast.
This is the Sunshine Coast Win Local News with Des McWilliam and Selena Downs.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Police are hoping motorists travelling along the Bruce Highway may be able to help with their investigations into an armed robbery early this morning. A man wearing a cream balaclava held up a Kalangor service station with a meat cleaver before fleeing in a waiting vehicle.
Security cameras recorded the terrifying hold-up at the BP Bellbird service station early this morning. Just before 1 o'clock, the bandit wearing a crude balaclava entered the Kalangor servo brandishing a large knife.
He was armed with what appears to be either a meat cleaver or a machete, and he's made a demand of the male service station attendant for money and cigarettes, and shortly after receiving those he's fled on foot.
The bandit in and out in less than a minute, the terrified victim keeping his hands clearly visible until the armed offender was out of sight. Police scoured the area. The dog squad managed to pick up a scent but lost it later.
They were there very shortly afterwards, and it appears at this stage that he may have had a vehicle waiting somewhere on the highway.
Police are now hoping the public may be able to help with their investigations.
If anyone was in the area about 1:45, 10 to 1 last night, if they could either call us here at Maroochydore CIB or Nambour CIB or phone Crime Stoppers.
Police hope someone travelling along the highway may have seen a vehicle parked on the side of the road 5 kilometres north of Nambour, or a man wearing a distinct cream balaclava. The offender is described as being around 180 centimetres tall with a medium build. He was last seen wearing a cream balaclava, black long-sleeve jacket, black gloves and dark shoes. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Belinda Burrows, Win News.
A coronial inquiry has found no one was to blame for the death of a 26-year-old fisherman killed in a boating accident in Pumicestone Passage last June. Shane Robert Stewart was a passenger in a runabout that collided with an unlit houseboat in the middle of the channel at night.
The body of keen fisherman Shane Robert Stewart was recovered from shallow water in Pumicestone Passage on the morning of the 21st of June last year. 2 days earlier at about 7 p.m, the 26-year-old had been returning from a fishing trip with his mate, Robert Meyers, when their runabout slammed into an unmanned houseboat which had drifted into the channel. The impact throwing Mr. Stewart through the windscreen of the small boat and into the water, an extensive night search failing to find him. Today, a coronial inquiry was held into Mr. Stewart's death, family members including his parents attending the court. 2 witnesses gave evidence that they had heard the collision, both testifying that they had seen no lights on the houseboat at all. The court was told that under collision regulations, any vessel over 7 metres is required to display lights at all times. This houseboat was almost twice that size, had no operational lights, nor bulbs in the light fittings. The houseboat's owner admitted they had not known about the law and hadn't kept the lights on, but thought their boat was moored in a safe and visible place. The coroner found no one could be held criminally responsible for Mr. Stewart's death.
We were hoping that the owners of the houseboat would have faced charges, criminal charges, for the death of our friend.
I'm a little bit surprised about the outcome. I thought it could have went better, but...
His parents are unsure if they'll pursue civil action. Kesha Loy, Win News.
Sunshine Coast Police have swooped on properties around Maroochydore in more drug raids this morning. The raids follow yesterday's seizure of almost 500 trees at properties in Noosa. Police are confident the operations have had a significant effect on the local drug trade.
Most were still in bed when police swooped on addresses in the Maroochydore area just before 7 this morning. This Parkway Drive home was just one of 10 properties raided by officers as part of Operation Rialto, targeting cannabis and amphetamines. From the outside, it's like any other home in the neighbourhood, but inside police found dozens of young cannabis trees being grown under an elaborate hydroponic system involving lights and irrigation.
Which took up 2 bedrooms. We believe that the value of the cannabis there would have been probably about $60,000 on the street.
Today's raids follow yesterday's operation near Noosa, in which police seized firearms and almost 500 plants, as well as a quantity of dried marijuana allegedly ready for sale. Police say recent hauls are having a significant impact on the local drug trade.
I think some of the drug users and the distributors on the Sunshine Coast would be probably taking things a little bit more cautiously. I'm sure it would have effect on the trade, there's no doubt about that.
As a result of this morning's raids, 15 people have been served with a notice to appear before a magistrate on charges of production and possession of a dangerous drug. Max Futcher, Win News.
Smoke alarms are again being credited with saving lives after a unit fire in Maroochydore this afternoon. Fire crews donned breathing apparatus and burst into the flat at about 2:30 this afternoon, finding kitchen areas choked with smoke. The flames were quickly extinguished with minimal damage to the rest of the unit. It's believed cooking was left on the stove when the resident went out.
This fire certainly had the potential to escalate. Again, the smoke alarms provide early warning in this instance.
That saying, everything old is new again, is coming true in Caloundra. The old Dolphin Motel is getting a second chance, recycled as road base.
Caloundra residents living next door to the derelict Dolphin Motel got their wish early this month when the building was reduced to this. But instead of the rubble ending up at the local tip, it's been put to better use.
It was a combined effort between Clayton's and R&R. We decided that with all the amount of landfill concrete going there that it could be recycled. This machine actually crushes it up and it's made back into gravel and road base.
Following their green policy, Caloundra City Council decided to recycle its old motel and use it on the roads around the Shire. This $500,000 machine transforming the rubble into road base.
It's loaded by the excavator in the top conveyor that goes through the crusher, goes on the bottom conveyor, and the magnet actually takes all the steel and that out of the product, goes along and is screened up into 2 different size materials there, the road base and the larger rock.
While this is common practice in other areas, it's not been done before on the coast.
Yeah, this is a first for the Sunshine Coast. No council's tried it before, and the Caloundra City Council is putting all behind it.
Now other councils around the region are jumping on the bandwagon. Several are looking at the machine to recycle their rubble into road base. Belinda Burrows, Win News.
Coming up after the break, a local fireworks company to take on the best in the world.
And connoisseurs gather for the Winter Wine Festival.
Tonight, the scenic flight that lets you take control. London's $15 billion makeover.
The British have become brash.
And a tour of America's Wild West getaway tonight on Win.
The new spring collection cushions have arrived, along with these gorgeous vases and platters, all at pre-GST prices with an extra 20% off. Now that spring is in the air and it's barbecue time again, enjoy the great outdoors on exotic teak garden furniture. Indian Iron Jarly coffee tables, practical and stylish, must clear for spring. Decadent dining suites are back, but be quick if you dare. Ask about our interest-free deals. Conditions apply. Reduced prices with added value only at Noosa Style and Gone Potty. Thomas Street, Noosa Homemaker Centre, Noosaville.
$1,000 can be yours. It's Mitsubishi dealers' first ever official factory $1,000 buyer's grant. Receive an official check on the day for $1,000 on any run-out Magna, Verada, or used Mitsubishi vehicle. There's huge factory bonuses plus a 5-year, 100,000-kilometer warranty on new cars. Mitsubishi dealers' first ever official factory $1,000 buyer's grant. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday only.
Where's the best value for Father's Day? True Value Hardware. And where can you find the latest NRG 184mm circular saw for only $79? True Value Hardware. And where can you find a Bosch 19-piece drill set with metal case for only $18.70? True Value Hardware. And where can you find the handy 9X triple cooler pack for just $70.70? You guessed it.
At True Value Hardware, that's where you still get service. At True Value Hardware, that's where.
Don't miss the action with the latest big screen TVs from Harvey Norman. This Samsung 109cm rear projection TV with split screen twin tuner, $34.50. An LG 132cm rear projection TV with a bonus DVD player, only $46.99. This Sony 121cm rear projection TV with unique high contrast anti-reflective screen, $49.99. Panasonic's latest 130cm big screen TV with 100Hz technology, $59.99. Get a big screen TV now at Harvey Norman.
Coming up, Tanya Van Heer out of the Olympic team. Virgin Blue takes off from Brisbane on its first commercial flight. Injured dozer driver stranded for 9 hours. Damir Dokic at it again. Banned from the US Open over food prices. The story shortly.
Thanks, Mike. You're watching Win Local News. A Sunshine Coast business is set to shine on the international stage, taking on the world's best at the International Fireworks Championships next Saturday. The team from KC Fireworks at Yandina leave for Macau on Monday to pit their skills against 11 of the world's best fireworks nations.
Most kids would say Clive Featherby and his crew at KC Fireworks in Yandina have got the best job in the world. But as Clive will tell you, this is serious business. And it doesn't get any more serious than the Asian International Fireworks Championships in Macau next Saturday. While other Australian fireworks companies were focusing on the Olympics, this local firm was invited to compete against 11 other countries to decide the world's best.
It's a huge time. They get audiences for that, and the exaggeration, a good 200,000 to 300,000 people, because a lot of the people are coming from China and Hong Kong and all that to watch.
To be in the hunt, KC's will be judged on the colour, variation and quality of its 16-minute display. 16 minutes during which 8,500 charges will explode in the skies over Macau. That's a bang worth $50,000.
We've had to come up with all sorts of things. We're going to set the water on fire with big gas cylinders and all this sort of thing that bubble under the water and light up all the water. We're actually firing all these shells that you see bursting there. We've made them all so they float on water and explode on the water.
The team leaves for Hong Kong on Monday, but already they've sent 2 20-foot shipping containers filled with fireworks and equipment. The reputation just from being involved in the championships is already paying off.
In Asia it's hard to get into, and we look like we've broken into it, so that's great.
Max Futcher, Win News.
Renowned artists have put their works on paper for an exhibition opening tonight at the Sunshine Coast University. Titled Unfamiliar Ground, the exhibition explores the use of paper as a medium. 9 artists were given a single sheet of paper measuring 1 metre by 3 metres and asked to create artworks, and these are the results. The exhibition opens tonight and runs until the 22nd of September.
Wine connoisseurs and those who just like a good drop of red or white gathered at Stewart's Hotel at Kawana last night for the annual Winter Wine Festival. The gala event attracting the country's best winemakers to the coast.
Whether you're a red or a white lover, the Winter Festival had a bottle or a crate for everyone, and they kept on coming. This year's event with no shortage either of wine connoisseurs, there to test their taste buds and noses.
It gives everyone the opportunity to come in and sample over 250 different varieties of wine. It's one of our big social occasions in the year.
And by the crowds who turned up last night, it's obvious the wine festival's a favourite with the locals, who come from right across the coast to sample some plonk from some of the best wineries around the country and locally.
This is our $50 Shiraz.
And where there's fine wine, there's always the best cheeses.
Fantastic.
But the event isn't just for the public. Stewart's using the opportunity to train up their staff.
All the people who work in our stores can actually come out, sample the wines they're selling, so they can actually recommend to people and actually know what they're talking about.
For those who missed out this year, the winemakers will be up in 2001 to do it all again, right down to the very last drop. Kesha Loy, Win News.
On the Share Watch now, Telstra dipped 46 to close at 6.31 today. MIM was also down, BHP 37 lower, the All Ordinaries and Gold dropping 55 and 4 respectively. Sports along next with Benny, and sports scientists from around the globe are at Twin Waters to debate the future of physical education.
Then Sunshine Coast Soccer set for traditional showdown with the Strikers.
Saturday, they're two cops that can't get through their day without some action. And just when you think you've seen it all before, along comes the director's cut. Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, with Joe Pesci and Rene Russo.
You okay, honey? My girl.
Lethal Weapon 3, the director's cut, 8:30 Saturday on Win.
Need to show Dad you care? Well, in this week's Kmart catalogue, you'll find 20% off all men's underwear and socks and 20% off all men's sporting footwear. This Father's Day, Kmart has just what you need for Dad.
Going for broke. Our Bondi got away with it. Only $29.95. Great priced Father's Day favourites from Angus and Robertson.
Need to show Dad you care? Well, in this week's Kmart catalogue, you'll find a Jackaroo 6-burner barbecue for $299 and an Arctic 12-volt variable speed cordless drill kit for $65. This Father's Day, Kmart has just what you need for Dad.
Crazy Clark's Father's Day catalogue is out now. Check these bargains out. 303-piece titanium coated drill set, $9.99. A swinging fish that sings to music, $29.99. Pack of 24 shapes variety, $5.99. The savings just keep coming. Trolley case with free matching cabin bag from $19.99. Beach towels from $8.99. Hurry, they won't last. Fishing stool with cooler bag, $9.99. And a glass chest set's just $19.99. Crazy Clark's, where every dad gets a bargain.
Mum makes oats that are nearly as good as a big warm hug. On second thoughts, I think they're even better.
Hello everyone, thanks for your company tonight. Well, Sunshine Coast local David Podlick is the clubhouse leader of the Biwa Pro-Am after shooting a 4 under 68. New Zealander Martin Pettigrew is one shot back, while the local favourite Ian Baker Finch was 3 under after 9. A long way back from the fairways of St Andrews to those of his old stomping ground at Biwa, but for Ian Baker Finch it's one which holds a special significance. The former British Open winner began his golfing career on these very tees and greens designed by Father Laurie, who was on hand today to offer the occasional tip as Baker Finch returned to town to compete in the rejuvenated Biwa Pro-Am.
He always has a little bit here and there, you know, stay out of the trees and knock it in, and yeah, it's good to have him out here.
Baker Finch Senior, not so sure.
He doesn't do the things that I tell him to do all the time.
Not at all?
No. Oh, some of the time.
Only the good shots.
The ones that go in are the ones that I tell him.
But it's not just Baker Finch looking to use the tournament as a springboard back into competitive golf. Clounder is Peter McQuinney, coming back from injury, another determined to do well.
The ladder 9, I've been getting tired, but you know, it's getting like up to 16 holes, and then I can feel a bit of wandering going, so you know, as I keep going, you know, hopefully we'll get it over 18, and then let's work on the next 18 and then the one after that.
Meanwhile, Mountain Creek's Richard Moy has shot a round of 67 to help put Australia in the outright lead in the teams division of the International Federation of Golf tournament being played in Montego Bay in Jamaica. Well, the Broncos have again reigned supreme with the stunning victory over the Roosters last Sunday, and they've been rewarded with 4 players selected in the upcoming World Cup. And I wonder what Billy Moore thought of the game.
Justice was certainly served last Sunday when Brisbane brought home the premiership. They were not only the best side on the day, they've been the best side for the whole 12 months in this year's premiership. Brisbane have been a model of consistency all year, and last Sunday was no difference. Their forwards led the way through a superb effort through Gordon Tallis, Brad Thorne, and especially Shane Webke playing with a broken arm. But the real highlight, I think, for the Brisbane Broncos were their back three. Lottie Dakuri, Wendell Saylor, and especially Darren Lockyer were superb on the day. They created havoc every time they touched the ball, and on many occasions they were the ones who diffused the situation when Sydney City looked like they were pressing the line. While the game never reached any great heights, Sydney City were very committed, and especially the last 15 minutes did prove very eventful. Unfortunately for them, they didn't have enough strike power. Brad Fittler, Luke Phillips and Matthew Singh were their best on the day, but unfortunately they were outclassed through a much more dominant side. What a great way to send out champions like Kevin Walters and Mick Hancock. Their last games in the NRL were certainly blessed to go out the way they should do as true champions. Unfortunately for Brisbane, they will be losing several players next year, Kevin Campion and the like, but I'm sure with the young players they're bringing through, it won't prove too much trouble for Wayne Bennett. Speaking of Wayne Bennett, he now joins the illustrious company of Jack Gibson in winning 5 NRL premierships. It's a great achievement for the Supercoach, and while names don't mean a great deal to Wayne Bennett, he certainly is one of the greatest coaches in rugby league history. Well, it's been a pleasure bringing you the footy reports for the last 8 months. I'll catch you next season on the footy field. Billy Moore, Win News.
70 of the world's leading sports scientists are at Twin Waters this week to discuss the future of physical education and sport. Top of the agenda, finding a formula to balance current funding priorities with future needs.
Australia's long been known as a nation which takes great pride in the achievements of its sports people. But with millions of dollars of government funds being injected into national teams and training academies each year, many experts fear for the future of sport, given the lack of support for those at the grassroots.
A lot of money is spent at the federal level on elite sport and on preparing for the Olympics in Australia, as an example. And what happens is a lot of grassroots sports and organisations simply lose out.
Adding the trickle-down theory, which holds that kids will see and want to emulate the success of their heroes, is far removed from the reality facing administrators in many codes, the problems of ageing or inadequate infrastructure, compounded by the unrealistic expectations of a generation raised in the era of instant gratification.
I think what happens as well is that the instant gratification is not there, and kids go out there expecting to become top athletes or excel in their sports, and it doesn't happen overnight.
The commercialisation of sport in the modern era, another cause of concern for academics hoping to address the decline in participation rates.
The debates are a lot more about Speedo versus Adidas than about whether people should actually wear, a suit when they're swimming or not. So it's all these sorts of, sort of economic and commercial debates.
But she says it's not all doom and gloom, for while governments don't seem to be taking the funding issue seriously, both the NRL and the AFL have put in place junior development programs aimed at getting kids involved and then keeping them within the fold once they're there. Kirk Costa, Win News.
And while most soccer fans are focused on the outcome of Sunday's local league playoffs, the weekend will be a watershed for the round ball game on the coast, with 2 representative fixtures to be played at Coolum on Saturday afternoon.
While officials expect a good crowded glasshouse for Sunday's sudden death qualifier between NYU and Gympie, they say local football fans are in for a treat at Coolum on Saturday, with the Sunshine Coast youth rep side taking on the QAS before the seniors tackle the Brisbane Strikers.
It's great to have them up here. It's great to be part of their preparation for the National League, and it's certainly great for the guys who are going to play against them. It's good experience for them.
Coach Brown says the curtain raiser should be an electric encounter with some of the best junior talent in the state on show, and says the senior side are in with a real chance given the Strikers' lack of match practice.
I actually played against them a couple of weeks ago in a testimonial game, and they're still finding their feet. They've had a bit of time off. Our boys have at the end of the season, so they should be moving quite nicely. So I think it's going to be a real good game.
While the Sunshine Coast Strikers game is turning into a traditional pre-season challenge for the NSL side, Brown says it's also part of a longer-term plan for the Sunshine Coast League.
We're really trying to push for a senior team to play in the 4X. That would be the next step for us, I think. But certainly for the younger guys, there's a career path there that goes right through to the Strikers.
Saturday's curtain raiser kicks off at 1, the main game at 3. Kirk Costa, Win News.
The Villanoosa Tigers are aiming to take out both the reserves and senior flags in the inaugural AFL South Queensland League. Both sides will play qualifying finals this Sunday. The home ground advantage sure to be a factor.
Noosa President Danny Burton says while the early part of the season presented the club with its fair share of challenges, there's a definite buzz at the Wyber Road ground these days, with strong showings over recent weeks priming the Tigers for premiership glory.
We've been working towards this weekend and then the next weekend, and we've got 3 weeks after that, and hopefully the big one for both the first and the seconds.
Burton says both the twos contest with minor premiers Palm Beach and the seniors clash with Coolangatta will be willing encounters and no place for the faint-hearted. Adding while the main game will be won in the middle, the Tigers forwards have been on fire recently, racking up a virtual cricket score against Caloundra last week. The backline also earning its fair share of praise from the president.
Our backline has been superb all year. We've got the lowest points kicked against us, 1,232 points. So, you know, we really are, you know, strong there, and then that gives our forwards an opportunity.
And says after the heartbreak of last year when Noosa went down to Redlands in a grand final replay, the sniffer final success this season has got everyone at the club itching to get amongst the action.
We're getting 44, 45, even 50 blokes at training. That allows the coach to do exactly what he wants to do.
Both matches have been scheduled for Sunday due to Saturday's AFL Grand Final. Kirk Costa, Win News.
Yeah, some terrific football on the weekend, and our lady who's always on the ball. Kesha's in next with the weather. Then Darren Landers takes a look at a predatory fish at Marine Watch.
Sunday night.
What do you call this?
Chicken. Michael Caton and Sophie Lee in an exceptional all-Aussie cast in the comedy that sticks it up the big guys.
Tell him he's dreaming.
The Castle, Sunday 8:30 on Win. Yothu Yindi, the new album, Gama. Boys in love, forbidden fruit. Featuring the amazing Ghost Spirits. Yothu Yindi, Gama, their best album yet. In store now.
I need a holiday.
Still play your numbers every week?
Someone's got to win, and it may as well be me.
40, 7, 25 and 8. And who's it going to be tonight? Now here's...
Around the world. Mum, you'll have a ball.
I'm sure we will.
We?
No, I'm going to need someone to go shopping with.
Oh, Mum.
Wouldn't it be nice?
$1,000 can be yours. It's Mitsubishi dealers' first ever official factory $1,000 buyer's grant. Receive an official check on the day for $1,000 on any run-out Magna, Verada, or used Mitsubishi vehicle. There's huge factory bonuses plus a 5-year, 100,000-kilometer warranty on new cars. Mitsubishi dealers' first ever official factory $1,000 buyer's grant. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday only.
Hurry into Harvey Norman and buy furniture and bedding with no deposit and no interest for 24 months and no repayments for 12 months. That's right, no deposit with no interest for 24 months and no repayments for 12 months on all furniture and bedding. Lounge and dining furniture, bedding and bedroom suites, everything you need to make your house a comfortable home. What a deal! No deposit with no interest for 24 months and no repayments for 12 months. Available to approved customers now at Harvey Norman.
Yothu Yindi, the new album, Gama. Boys in love, forbidden fruit. Featuring the amazing Ghost Spirits. Yothu Yindi, Gama, their best album yet. In store now.
Good evening. Still very high fire weather at the moment. These spectacular pictures taken by our cameraman Anthony last night of the cane fires at Bly Bly. No rainfall last night to record. Overnight the minimum fell to 5 degrees in Gympie, 7 in Nambour and 9 degrees in Maroochydore. A high of 29 today. Other areas reaching 28, 26 degrees in Nambour and in Mullaney. Right now it's 20 degrees with a northeast wind blowing at 11 knots. The barometer's on 1,010. To the cloud photo, and a band of high cloud and light rain is extending into the far west, likely to spread north as well, otherwise fine across the state. Looking at the chart now, and a trough moving through the southeast is producing some patchy light rain with moderate southwest winds. Otherwise the weather in Queensland is being controlled by a high over western parts and in the north. Tomorrow's forecast dry again in the Wide Bay with easing southwest winds and a top of 27. Dry and warm in the southeast as well. A high fire danger is still current. Southwest winds tending northeast to northwest, 27 in Brisbane tomorrow. Here on the Sunshine Coast, dry with easing southwest winds, turning to northwest late tomorrow, 9 to 27. On the water, west to southwest winds at 15 to 20 knots, tending northwest to northeast to 25 knots at times, and the sea's right up to 2.5 metres tomorrow, which should please the surfers. The tide's low from just before 4 in the morning, high at around 10 o'clock. And tomorrow's sunrise will be at 6, sunset at just past 5:30. That's all the details I have for you. Darren joins us next with Marine Watch and a look at a pregnant predator.
The arowana is quite a large predatory fish which inhabits most regions of the Amazon in South America. Capable of reaching 60 centimetres in length, it was because of just that which led private owners to donate the two fish to Underwater World after they outgrew their domestic display. With such an odd-shaped mouth, one wonders just what it was designed to capture and consume.
Basically, as you can see by the shape of their mouth, they're fairly much surface feeders. So, you know, we'd assume insects, frogs, that sort of thing, and certainly any surface-swimming fish.
Coming from the same family as Saratoga, the arowana too carry germinated eggs in their mouth, which could help explain the depth of the lower jaw. This elongated fish has huge scales, is quick and very powerful, allowing it to slice through the water in pursuit of surface bait. More sought after for aquarium displays, the arowana is not a highly fancied table fish. Spring is in the air and just in time for one very pregnant grey nurse shark who today started showing signs of giving birth to pups in the main oceanarium at Underwater World.
The pups in her belly have visibly changed position, so hopefully any time now, Darren.
And team, they're walking on eggshells down here at Underwater World at the moment in anticipation of that birth taking place. They're watching the sharks around the clock. And no doubt we'll let you know as soon as that does happen. I'll catch you tomorrow night when hopefully this great one and fantastic spring weather will continue through the weekend.
Yes, let's hope so. Thanks, Darren. That's all in our bulletin this Thursday night from the entire Win News team. Enjoy your evening.
Good night.
This has been a Win News presentation from Australia's largest regional television network.
With Bruce Page and Heather Ford, this is National 9 News.
Dream dashed for Tanya Van Heer. She's out of the Olympic team.
Virgin Blue takes off with a promise. Low fares are here to stay.
Demir Dokic has added it again, banned in New York. Good evening.
Good evening.
The Olympic dream is over for Tanya Van Heer. Her desperate effort to make the athletics team for Sydney has failed. The Aussie runner has not been able to convince selectors that she's fully recovered from injury. She heard the bad news while training in Brisbane.
The South Australian sprinter had been training with the Australian team at their Nudgee camp up until this morning. But after lunch, head coach Chris Wardlaw broke the news.
The facts of the matter is that her injury stopped her getting to the sort of shape that we know Tanya can be in.
Van Heer's problems began with an Achilles heel injury in July, which forced her to miss the Olympic selection trials earlier this month. She was given a lifeline, courtesy of a 100-metre race in Adelaide last week, where she needed to run 11.6 seconds or better to receive Olympic nomination. She ran exactly 11.6, and while that brought immediate joy, then came the news that wind assistance meant the time didn't stand. Nevertheless, she was invited to train with the 4x100 squad at Nudgee to ascertain her fitness. It wasn't enough.
Pretty fair, she'd done, but not Van Heer standard.
Wardlaw considers the 4x100 team a distinct medal chance. They were told of Van Heer's situation late this afternoon.
Basically, they've got a job to do, and they won't be commenting.
Although she left the camp on hearing the news, Athletics Australia didn't divulge whether she'd return immediately to her family in Adelaide. Her disappointment intense.
You know, as a coach, I know that despair can sometimes turn you into a better athlete, and hopefully Tanya can come back better than ever.
Andrew Slack, National 9 News.
The Olympic headache over Queensland's turf at Canberra's Bruce Stadium is being fixed. The grass will be ripped up and replaced in time for Canberra to host its Olympic soccer fixtures, which begin in less than a fortnight. Olympics Minister Michael Knight says the playing surface will be up to world standards and the ACT government will foot the bill.
They'll move heaven and earth to ensure that that Olympic soccer is played in Canberra.
Work will begin immediately.
The promise of a few weekend showers won't spell an end to the bushfire threat in southeast Queensland. More fires were burning close to Brisbane today, and to the city's north, a school was closed by smoke.
Inbound traffic on the Western Freeway halted as yet another scrub fire signalled the end of a drier winter. Just as firefighters are getting on top, there's more bad news from the Weather Bureau. Rain predicted for Saturday won't be enough to help.
Cloud band should move through southeast Queensland fairly quickly. Unfortunately, low down, we've got dry air. We just haven't got the moisture to be uplifted to any substantial rain.
The fires burning around Brisbane are under control, but fire authorities are being warned of worse to come.
The fire situation should get worse over the weekend. Our main worry is the wind speed. The stronger the wind, the higher the fire danger rating.
The principal of the Narangba Valley High School was so worried about nearby bushfires and the smoke menace, he closed his school today.
Yesterday at 11:30 we had to close the school down. We had a whole range of kids who were vomiting, their sore eyes, bronchial problems, asthma, so we just had to close the school.
According to the Weather Bureau, what southeast Queensland needs right now is a moist change coming in from the ocean. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen for the next week or so anyway.
What we really need is a lot of moisture to get into eastern Queensland, so anything like a trough